Hey YouTube, it's me, it's the man who likes Oriente, dropping a fresh VID for you today. And you know what? Today on the channel, we pay homage to a legend. The single greatest character that Vince McMahon has ever created in the history of him running WWE. I speak, of course, of The Undertaker. Now, I'm not going to bore you with all the stats of Undertaker's career. If you're a true wrestling fan and you've clicked on this video because it has Undertaker in it, you probably know those already. So I don't need to go over the multiple WWE championships, tag team championships, even a hardcore champion was thrown in there. You know what he did. What I want to talk about instead is how Undertaker changed the business. And he changed the business while holding true to its fundamentals. What do I mean? Let's take a look at this man. Essentially, when he came to WWE in Survivor Series of 1990, he was given a very zombie-like gimmick. And that was because when he wrestled his last match in WCW as Mean Mark Calloway, he had injured his hip. So it was thought that he wasn't going to be able to move very well. So he was given the dead man rising up out of the grave, not possible to really hurt, not possible to feel any pain, sort of thing, because it was thought at the time that that was all he was going to be capable of doing. Oh my gosh, how wrong we were, and how glad I am that he showed what he could really do. This man revolutionized the big man position, because before Undertaker's time, if you were his dimensions of 6'10", 328, and so on and so forth, you had one role in professional wrestling. You were the lumbering big man who could only punch and hit people really hard, and that was the extent of your gimmick, i.e. like Sid, certainly Giant Gonzalez for his cup of coffee in the big time. But Undertaker was completely different, wasn't he? It's not normal for a man who's 6'10 and a half, 300 plus pounds, to be able to do a suicide dive over the top rope to an opponent on the outside and make it look better in some cases than people like Rey Mysterio, who made their living on doing such things. It's not normal for a man to walk the top rope and make it look as effortless as walking down the street. I mean, I've seen Rey Mysterio and Elix Skipper, many high flyers, many people who tout themselves on doing things like that, walking on top of cages, walking the top rope, and it doesn't look as smooth and effortless as when Taker would climb to the top rope. Not only that, but it says something to the character of a man when the following things happen. When you are considered the collective conscience in WWE, that speaks to how high you have become. I would put Undertaker on the same level as another WWE legend of Andre the Giant, in that I believe that if Undertaker truly didn't want to do something, he could go to Vince McMahon, the seat of all power and all things in how things are happening in WWE, and say, no, I'm not doing this. And Vince would look at him and be like, okay. It says something that Undertaker, who continually evolved his character, whether it be through look or presenting it in a different persona, i.e. the American Badass, can do that and still be accepted. Now, by and large, the American Badass Undertaker was not as warmly received as his Deadman persona, and I believe that's largely because it was considered too human compared to what we had been conditioned to for the lion's share of his career. But it worked because it let us into his life. We got to see interaction with him and his wife, at the time Sarah, not Michelle McCool, but it was Sarah at the time. And even though it gave rise to the terrible DDP stalker gimmick, it allowed him to put another wrestler on the mat. And that's where I think Undertaker really excelled. Undertaker was willing to work with people, and only after exhausting everything he can did he truly give up on a person. And usually that didn't happen. The only exception I can think of is Nathan Jones. For those of you who don't remember that story, Nathan Jones was supposed to team with Taker at WrestleMania 19 to take on Big Show and A-Train, two of the safest workers in the company, and he actually brought Nathan down to his home in Houston, and they worked out for 3 months to try to get him ready. And for those of you thinking that that was Nathan Jones' first appearance, no. He was wrestling for independent promotions a good 6 months before WWE signed him. And it says something that after working for 6 months, Taker basically went back to management and said, this guy is the drizzling shits. Which is why it got turned into a handicap match, which Taker still won because God bless the streak. And that brings me to another point. How respected is a man, and what does it say about the evolution of his character when you can create something that essentially means more, well, just as much, if not more, as your company's World Heavyweight title? Such was the WrestleMania Streak. And it wasn't until his first match with Kane at WrestleMania 14 that people even began to realize that, hey, we got a streak going on here. And, you know, I have mixed feelings about the streak ending. First of all, as a fan who respects Undertaker, I personally believe he should have been able to retire unbeaten at WrestleMania. But Taker's not that kind of guy. He would rather see someone get elevated to a higher level and give up the streak, and maybe he needed that to be able to even begin to think about walking away from the business. So I've accepted it, and when Brock broke the streak at WrestleMania 30, they did exactly what they should have done with Brock Lesnar, because when you take something that has grown to mythical proportions and you shatter it, the person who shattered it should have been pushed to the moon, and thankfully they did. So they did the right thing. It also shows that Undertaker was one who demanded the best out of people. And when you didn't give your best, you were disciplined, shall we say. Best example I can think of is Undertaker was working a match with Chris Masters. Anyone remember him? Yeah, that worked out really well, didn't it? And Taker's working his arm, and for whatever reason, Masters isn't selling. Now, granted, I know selling these days is really a lost art, but back then it was still a thing that was widely practiced. So Taker whispers to him, you know, he's like, sell the arm, you gotta sell the arm. And so he continues to work over there, Masters still isn't selling. So what does Taker do? He breaks the arm, you know, a legit cross arm breaker. It's funny because that's just what happens. If you're not going to do what you're supposed to do, Taker's going to make you do what you're supposed to do. Also, being in matches with Taker, especially on the grand stage of Mania, really made anyone who was in the ring with him better than they already were. Best example of that was when he took on Mark Henry in a casket match at WrestleMania 22. On paper, I was not excited about that match because while Taker was still Taker, Mark Henry was exactly what I described the typical big man of being at that point in his career. And that match was made better by the fact that Taker had helped Henry look good and Henry had given a better effort than he had at any other point in his career because he knew what was expected of an Undertaker opponent. So, now that we've witnessed what is supposedly the last Undertaker match, which is it's about 50-50 split from those that are in the business, I personally hope that Taker's done because at this point, as a fan of his, in a perfect world, I would love to walk up to him, shake his hand, say thank you for all the memories you have given us over the years. Thank you for giving us everything you possibly can. You've given us everything and more. There's nothing left to prove, nothing left to give. Go home, get healed up, and enjoy the rest of your time with your family. You have more than earned it. What are some of your favorite Undertaker memories? Post down in the comments below. Let's put on the nostalgia goggles, people. Let's think back on the wondrous career that was Mark Calaway, aka The Undertaker. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't want to miss a video by the Wrestling Ranter, click that subscribe button, and every time a new video of mine goes live, you won't miss it. Thank you guys for watching. Ranter off the soapbox. Catch you guys later. Bye-bye.